Hello, I'm Anjali Arnold, creative force behind Quintessential Studio and creator of Soul Tree Akashic Healing. Weird or wondrous, quintessential experiences are the kind we can't easily explain, but we've all had them. Otherworldly, real experiences shared by real people just like you. That's what this show is about. Discover and understand through information gleaned from a higher realm, pulled in via ways you would never expect. There's meaning in every quintessential experience, even if you can't explain it, and only if you're willing to create it. More is possible than we realize. Are you ready to grow beyond the mind barrier? I'd like to introduce you to Marion Goodfellow, internationally renowned medium and UK-based intuitive. She's been able to see and communicate with spirit since the age of 3. Marion can see souls who have crossed over as clearly as we see each other. BBC's Northern Ireland's Greatest Haunts featured her as their medium of choice. She believes that spirit lives on after we die, and she has devoted her entire life proving it to us, and she has, over and over again. And if that's not enough, she's the 7th daughter of a 7th daughter, and her birthday is All Hallows Eve. Marion.
Hello, everybody. As Angeline said, I'm a medium. I mediate between this world and the next. That's my sole purpose in life, to try and bring you evidence beyond that you might be able to see with your own eyes, to bring you that extra information from spirit that proves to you personally that we exist beyond this experience. And to help me in all this, I'd like to introduce Mark Cowden. He's an author, he's a wonderful, wonderful investigator, and he has the technical ability like nobody I've ever known. We met 15 years ago on the BBC show Northern Ireland's Greatest Haunts, and we've been close friends ever since. Mark has travelled the world far, far more than I have, and he's a curious in everything. He likes to investigate anything that's weird and wonderful. He likes the ancient sites, he likes UFOs, he stakes out, he's been an avid Bigfoot tracker. He is my most favourite man on the planet, Mark Cowden.
Well, thank you very much, Marion. And I have to say, the feeling is mutual. You've been a great friend all this time, more than a friend, great family member. And I'm sure we'll continue our adventure in many lifetimes to come. You did a very good job in explaining who I am and what I do. And as we travel through this adventure, we'll find out little bits about me along the way. So enough about that. But I'll talk about Anjali Arnold. Anjali is a master Akashic practitioner, a born intuitive, and she's based out of Colorado. Working with clients around the world, she is unafraid to ask the kinds of questions few others think to ask when it comes to unburdening the soul. She knows when you tap into Akasha, the cosmic consciousness, you get guidance, wisdom, and surprising answers. She's a world teacher, and through her work, she researches and demonstrates how consciousness is continuing and connected.
So join us as we dive into everyday unexplained curiosities and get a glimpse from a higher view. We spotlight your wondrous experiences against the expansive backdrop of otherworldly possibilities. There's always so much more to explore. And because everything is interconnected, no quintessential experience is ever truly impossible. Something happened, and you were there to witness it. We are your hosts, experts in quintessential fields that were formerly termed impossible. Very excited and very happy to have Jodi with us today. She's originally from Rhode Island. She has some stories to share with us that I feel definitely count as after-death communication. And she has some other stories to share with us about her mother and her grandmothers. So Jodi, I think I'm just going to open the floor to you to give us a little bit of a backstory about your mom, because a lot of this centers around her.
It really does center around her. So about a year ago, April 25th, I lost my mom to COVID, and she lived with us. We were extremely, extremely close, and big pill, obviously, to lose her. Now her birthday was April 14th. She would have been 80. And that morning, I was just kind of floating around the house and praying and just saying, you know, Mom, it's your birthday today. gosh, I would just love to hear from you. Let me know that that you're with me, that you just something. I needed something. And I really thought, I don't know what I thought. I mean, I really don't know what I thought. So literally sat down on the couch, was on my phone, and my phone rang. And it was Edie Carr, who is a really dear friend of my mom. They've smoked more cigarettes and had more cups of coffee than probably she and my father ever had. I mean, they were really besties for years and years and years, and a former neighbor. So I grew up with Edie as kind of like a second mom even. And Edie called and I said, "Hey, Edie, how you doing?" And she said, "Jodi, I'm good. I'm good." She's like, "What's up?" And it was just the way she presented it. I'm like, "What's up?" That was odd. I thought she was calling me because it was my mom's birthday. And she said, "Well, you just called me." And I said, "No, I didn't just call you." She said, "Yeah, I'm returning your call. I was in the shower and my phone kept saying, Jodi Souza's calling. Jodi Souza's calling." It rang 5 or 6 times and said Jodi Souza's calling several times. And the funny thing about that is Souza is my maiden name. Now, Edie and I we haven't really been in touch much throughout the years. So I don't know that she knows my last name is not Souza anymore. It's actually Ripsum. But she would know me as Jodi Souza. And so we got to chatting a bit. And I said, "Edie, I did not call you. Let me look at my phone to see if, in fact, I butt dialed you." I thought, well, maybe I butt dialed her. And I didn't. So there was no record on my end that I had called. And she looked at her phone and she said, "Oh my gosh, you didn't call me. There's no record of you calling me." And she said, I know I heard Jodi Souza." She's, "Well, maybe it was Tony Souza." I said, "Well, honey, Tony was my mom, Carol Tony Souza." She said, and I said, "Well, clearly mom wouldn't call you. She's not here anymore." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. Jodi, I am sure that you called." And so we chatted for a little bit. And I said to her, "I really think this was a divine thing from heaven and my mom directly connecting with me because Edie, I prayed this not more than 5 minutes prior to your phone call." So, absolutely astounded me that my mom would connect with me that way. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. And I've had some other things happen. I have to recall them, but Anjali, you can jog my memory.
I know that you had also told me that something happened again. Something happened again where you got a text message from another friend.
Oh, that's right. So then my birthday falls 5 days after my mom's birthday. And again, walking around the house, talking to my mom, saying, "Oh, Mom, it's my birthday today. I so wish you were here." And I said, do you know it's my birthday?" And then I said out loud, "Of course you know it's my birthday. You gave birth to me." And about an hour later, I got a text message from a dear friend who also knew my mother and loved my mother and vice versa. And she said, "I just want to wish you a happy birthday, Jodi. I hope you have an amazing day. I know your mom is looking down on you from heaven. After all, she gave birth to you." And it was just the exact same verbiage that came out of my mouth. And who sends a text message that way? Like, of course, she after all, she gave birth to you. That's just such an odd thing, but it was exactly what I said. So, pretty cool. And, Anjali and I have been talking a bit about how my mom was really into, trying to figure it out. She had a lot of books on the afterlife, on near-death experiences. She actually went on a cruise with Brian. Brian Weiss was like the person on the cruise that it was a cruise with him. And so she's done a lot of that stuff, kind of searching, trying to figure it out. Yeah, so it's pretty neat. And Anjali and I talked about my grandmother, I think was Baptist minister's wife, very into her faith. And when 9/11 happened, she had pretty much full-blown Alzheimer's. You could still have a conversation with her, but it wasn't a deep conversation, very kind of superficial at that point. And she lived with my parents and would go to daycare several times a week. And that morning, prior to anything happening on 9/11, she was extremely agitated. I mean, so much so that the bus driver called her and said, I don't know if we can take Esther today. She is so agitated, and she keeps repeating over and over and over again, we have to pray for our country. We have to pray for our country. We have to pray for our country. I mean, it was repetitive, constant. And within a half an hour, the towers were hit with the airplanes. So it was, very ironic, if you will. Very, and again, I look at it as she wasn't kind of here anymore. So maybe a different part of her brain was connected somewhere. So
And this was your mother's mother, yes?
This was my mother's mother. Yeah. So, we've had just some pretty significant, if you will, things happen. Kind of unexplainable things, if you will. That's.
So if your grandmother has these sort of qualities, and your mother is obviously able to cross the veil, what sort of things do you notice within yourself? Do you have sort of an intuition? Do you get a thought of the phone ringing, and then you know who it's going to be and things like that?
Yeah, and I think I've kind of just been like, oh, that's a coincidence. Sure.
There's no coincidence.
Don't believe in coincidences.
I think about things, and then all of a sudden they happen. And I'm like, whoa, that's weird. Or I think about a person that I haven't spoken with for umpteen months or weeks or years, and then all of a sudden I hear from them. So yes, I do feel connected. Now, keep in mind, I am a lover of Jesus, and so this was presented to me throughout my life as, oh, don't mess with that. Don't mess with that. That's not, I've had a little, oh, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? But then again, I look back at my mom. She had book upon book. I mean, 50 books on stuff like this that she was constantly delving into, really looking for answers and questioning. And so, yeah.
All I can say is you've got three experts in their relative fields all nodding their heads saying, no, this isn't a coincidence.
Well, exactly. And I didn't realize that, but it's
I've met a lot of people in the religious sector that have these abilities as well.
Right.
There was a couple of years ago, I met a nun, and she has lived on nothing but communion for over 20 years. She's never eaten food. She drinks a little bit of water and communion, and that's how she survived for about 20 years.
Holy cow.
And she travels with a monk, and she stays with people in people's houses. Not a single person has ever seen her eat food. And there's been a lot of people try to catch her out, and they call it a divine miracle.
I would say so.
I was a bit like you, Jodi. I was brought up in a really, really religious family. My gifts were outstanding from being a small child, but I had a very sensible mother. She never questioned my ability or what I was seeing or what I was sensing. She just said, you tell me next time. Right. Just tell me what's happening, So she was a good advocate. She never praised me for what I saw or did, but she seemed to have an understanding. And she always said to me that God gave all of us everything we need in life. Just some of us, it gives that extra little bit of sense, if you like. And she almost always said she never mentioned it to anybody else. I was a bit of a family secret, but that was her way of understanding it, that perhaps I was put here just to do God's bidding. Nobody else's, not my own, not to develop my own sense of ego, but just to prove Jesus Christ's promise of life everlasting.
Wow.
And that's what I've tried to do all my life. All my life is the survival of the human spirit. Beautiful. Into the heavens and beyond.
Beautiful. I love it.
I had also heard similar, Mark, to what you were saying about this nun living only off of communion. Yogis and sadhus in India have also been watched and witnessed for decades as also same thing, not consuming any food. And when you ask them, how is it that you stay alive and your body doesn't die? They say vital force comes through the Shakti nectar. And it's the same kind of thing. And it's like...
I read the story of a young Buddha, a young Buddhist monk that was corralled by a tree, and he didn't eat or drink anything for about 14, 15 years. And then all of a sudden somebody went one day and he was gone, just gone. And I was reading about some of the, not the miracles that he performed, but the actual miracles that happened because he was doing this. Not, he didn't make them happen, but other people, because they came to him, felt that he had inspired them to do other things. So it's like Jesus Christ, isn't it? You know, I believe totally in Jesus Christ. I believe he is the Son of God. Mm-hmm. And that has always been my thought process. That if I can do anything, it's because he made me that way. No other way. He made me that way. And that's what I'd like to say to Jodi. And even when I get to see and sense and feel things about lots of people, even I like that reassurance every now and again that, you know, there's somebody out there for me.
It was interesting because the moment you were telling the story about your grandmother being agitated the morning of 9/11, the instant you said the words, the Twin Towers fell, I got a huge right in my ear.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know what that is. I just wanted to share that. But I just have this feeling that there are some powerful energies coming through our communication today. And now you also, Jodi, had shared with me the same grandmother. Her husband, your grandfather, had also had something unusual. And you just mentioned that he was a minister. Yes?
He was a Baptist minister, probably the most perfect human being next to Jesus. I'm not kidding you. It didn't matter where your faith lied, whatever. You were touched by him. He was just that magnificent a man. And so he and my grandmother were asked to be chaplain and of the Garden Tomb in Israel back in the 80s. And so they were there for a year as chaplain and whatever her role was, wife of chaplain. Mm-hmm. And after that stint, they decided they would travel to Germany and Switzerland. My grandfather was German and my grandmother was Swiss. And on the way to Switzerland, my grandfather started becoming ill. And when they landed in Switzerland, he was so ill that they had to call the doctors in. And for whatever reason, back then in Switzerland, doctors came to you. And so he was in a hotel room and the doctor came to him. My uncle at the time, well, still is a cardiologist, ended up traveling there because my grandfather was so ill. They ended up transferring him to a hospital and they weren't giving him antibiotics like they would here. Apparently they figure out what's wrong with you before they give you the drug that they're supposed to give you. And so when my uncle got there, my grandfather had an out-of-body experience and he was out of it. I mean, he was not conscious whatsoever when Peter got there, but he said he was floating above the bed. He could see the entire room. The nurses, the doctors, my uncle, he could hear them. And my uncle insisted that they give him a broad spectrum antibiotic to help him. And when he came back to, he spoke of that. He said, I could see you all. Here's where you were standing. Here's what was said, all of these things. So he did have an out of body experience at that point. And which to me, absolutely, it's my grandfather. Of course he would have that, right? So yeah, pretty neat. We've had some kind of funky things happen. I have a grandmother on my father's side who, when she was dying, She lived in the States, and she had a niece in Portugal who came home from school one day. Like, they sent her home. She was super agitated and said, Norma talked to me today and said she was dying, and she told me goodbye. So yeah, I guess it's all around me, you guys.
Oh my gosh.
I guess I haven't talked about all of this in one setting before. So,
and it's
pretty
each
cool
story by itself. Yes, each story by itself is so remarkable. And now you pulled them all together and you go, what the heck?
No.
I was just asking about your grandfather's out-of-body experience. I wanted to know what dimension, as an Akashic practitioner, this is an important question for me to ask. Obviously, we're all here in the third dimension when we're alive and incarnate. What dimension did he go to when he had this out-of-body experience? And he went to the fourth dimension. So that is the dimension of our mental field, our emotional field. Mm-hmm. It also is our collective consciousness and the collective unconscious. It is also the astral realm, the dream realm. So there are many, 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 many levels to the fourth dimension. Another question that I wanted to ask in relation to a story of my own was, did your grandfather notice anything about the passage of time when he was out of body? And I'm going to find out what his answer is.
I was a kid, so it wouldn't have been a question I would have asked or even thought of. So
I got the answer. Marion had lost the sound again, I feel.
It's all right. It's all right. It's just interference.
Yes, I think there's spiritual energetic interference. Yeah. I was asking the question about whether, while your grandfather was having the out-of-body experience, that he had been in the fourth dimension, did he notice anything about the passage of time? And the answer was no. So in the fourth dimension, there is no sense of time.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
So Marion, did that come through?
No, there's just an awful lot of crackling going on, and I've got a lady's voice, and she seems to be humming. It's almost as if she's humming and would have hummed anyway. It's sort, a sort of a no tune, but just a murmur almost that's coming through. But it's interfering with what I'm hearing. I couldn't hear your voice at all. So it was just interfering. Was grandmother fond of music, please? Because I feel that she's busy in herself in the daytime just by going over old tunes and perhaps melodies in her mind, and she's sort of I'm going goosey from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. She's all around you. You are the epitome of her. You think you're like your father, but inside you're like grandmother. And your mother would have told you are like, she's saying, like, she's like me. She's like me. So your soul, your heart is like your grandmother's. And that's what I'm feeling coming through. And this lovely sort of melodious humming noise is all around me as I look at you. It's absolutely amazing. Just wants you to know that she's so very proud of you. You've come through an awful lot of difficulties. You're not talking about your difficulties at all. You're just reminiscing about them that you love and that are close to you. But she's saying she is so proud of all the difficulties that you have come through. You are a very brave girl, Jodi, and she wants you to know how much she loves you. And I'm upset.
Can you tell us your grandmother's name?
Her name was Esther Tom. Thom.
Tom.
She was a pianist and a vocalist.
Yeah.
And had full-blown Alzheimer's, but could sit at a piano when she could not have a conversation with you.
Absolutely. And she's playing me the most melodious music here. I'm getting it. It's going right through me. It's almost like as if I could sit there and conduct an orchestra here. It's amazing.
Gosh,
Absolutely
that's
amazing.
fabulous.
She just loves you to bits. Absolutely adores you.
She was an awesome lady.
She certainly was. But so are you.
Well, thank you.
So are you. You've got such a beautiful nature. Absolutely beautiful nature. And no nails that have been pushed into you have changed that in any way, shape or form. In any way, shape or form. I'm not going to go here into what she's giving me, but you have suffered greatly. And she wants you to know that she knows all the suffering now, and that she thinks you're an extraordinarily brave woman.
Wow.
God bless from Grandma.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Wait till she sends you the bill.
I know, right? So,
Poor Grandma.
my address.
Amazing. Amazing.
Jodi, how are you doing? You okay? You okay?
It continues to rain. There we go.
It should make you feel much better, Jodi. It should make you feel wonderful.
Tears of joy, definitely not tears of sadness. Yeah, she was an amazing woman. My mom's side of the family, I loved my dad. Don't get me wrong, but my dad's crab. He was. I don't have parents. No, both of my parents are passed away, and so yeah.
I'm going to ask you a tricky question now.
Okay.
What meaning does this experience provide you now that you're getting a chance to put all these stories together and the experiences that we're having today? Do you feel differently about yourself?
I feel validated, I guess, that that I'm being the person I should be. I feel like I'm a good person most of the time, but yeah, I mean, I feel validated, and I feel that this is validation of some of my questions about this in general, if that makes sense. Yeah, because you couldn't have known that, Marion, about my grandmother. I mean, unless you have a lot of time on your hands where you're going and researching, which
I certainly don't.
Right? Like, who has time for that? And this doesn't benefit you. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like you're being benefited.
I will just say this, Jodi. I purposely said to Angeline and Mark will verify this, I don't want any information about the people, the guests on the show, because it interferes with what might come through. So, it's no good me saying, oh, I know your father's blood, because you told me your grandmother passed, but you didn't say anything else. So she intercepted, she played with the microphone, she knew exactly what she was doing to get me to hear the melody, to get me to do that. And I couldn't do that if I read your notes or anything about you, because it interferes with what's coming in up here. Right. So, but you are lovely.
Oh, thank you.
We're friends forever.
Yes, we are. You remind me. I mean, you don't look like my mother, but you have her same haircut and your bright eyes. So I was like, oh. Because I did watch a little bit of the shows that you've been on, and you don't look the same now as you did in those shows. So at least the ones I
think it's the hair, the dye. I used to dye it.
Well, I love it the way it is, so you keep it the way it is.
Okay, I'll keep it just for you. Right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
From what I'm hearing, the impression that I get about you, Jodi, is that I think you've mastered the art of prayer. You seem to be very good at it. I think that you can connect loud and clear with anybody you want to that passed over. Could you maybe, if it's not too personal, sort of explain your method of praying? How do you do it? How do you go about it? What do you think about?
I wasn't always like that. So this is a fairly within the last probably 5 years where I've gotten really brave about praying out loud and in front of people. But I don't know. I just kind of get into this place where I close my eyes. I don't have to be on my knees or anything. I just close my eyes and the words just come out.
And inside yourself, do you feel like you've connected to something when you're doing it?
I would say yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes stronger than others. Especially when I'm praying thing that I can touch, like an animal, for instance. If I'm touching an animal that needs healing and I'm praying over them, I get into almost an out of body place. It's I focus on something red. I don't know why that is, but something red really gets me in tune with the whole energy of prayer. And then I get into this, if I mean, and my eyes are open in that sense, they're open. And then everything just kind of blurs and I get into almost this out of body experience. And that's done quietly though. I don't talk out loud when I'm in that state, but I mean, I pray a lot. I really do. Even they're short most of the time, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally.
I just got that the red is the pathway through the higher dimensions directly to Archangel Raphael. And Archangel Raphael is the archangel for healing.
I didn't know that.
So that is your conduit. It's your conduit to heal.
All right. I need to tune in. Yeah.
Now
I like Gabriel myself. I like Gabriel as the mouth of God.
There you go. There you go.
What are your gifts? What are your gifts?
My gifts as far as this kind of things go or just in life?
What are your gifts?
What are my gifts? Grace. Music. Love. Forgiveness. I guess forgiveness and grace go hand in hand. Animals. Healing. Animal healing.
Powerful prayer.
Powerful prayer. Yeah. Listening. Good listener. Love to talk to, but I'm definitely I've really mastered.
Marion is grandmother Esther.
She's saying fortitude. She has fortitude. She can overcome anything she wants to overcome. Her own unbelief sometimes is really what grandmother would hold her up for. You can do anything, Jodi. I'm saying it as if you're not there, sorry. But you can do anything you want to do. Fortitude is everything. Your grandmother also went through some terrible, strange times in her life. And she missed the bus on a lot of things. Do you understand what I mean when missed the bus? The opportunity just floated past her. She could have been great. And she's saying she wants you to be great. I'm interested in the red because I see orange when I want to communicate.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're both really, really vibrant colours. So, but she said fortitude is your best and saving grace.
Interesting. I wasn't a procrastinator. That might work better. Or a doubter sometimes. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm a 12-year cancer survivor. So that's probably one of the things she's talking about. That was a tough pill I lost. And I'm looking pretty good today, but I lost my facial nerve to cancer. And that was a really big pill to look in the mirror and see something you didn't like looking back at you. And it's taken many years to embrace that. You know what? This is just who I am now. And yeah, I'm alive.
You would never know. You look amazing.
It's the beauty. It's the beauty of strength. It's the beauty of strength.
Bless you.
Beauty of strength, just like gray hair is the wisdom silver.
I
All
got
of
those
these
too.
things. Yes. Yes. I
No.
think it's remarkable. Just remarkable.
Well, aren't we as humans remarkable? I mean, it's just so amazing, all the gifts that we're given, and some of us tap into them. Like, all of you have really tapped into your amazing gifts and run with it. And I don't think most people do that. They kind of just push it aside. Oh, it's not really a thing. So
it's kind of the reason that I think the three of us really decided that we did want to do a show just like this.
Yeah.
That features anyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. Someone.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So Mark, you seem to be an observer.
Mm-hmm.
Mike.
It's because Marion doesn't let me talk.
Oh, you're funny. I love it.
Wicked boy.
Quietly funny too. That's great.
Yeah, we've had a lot of experience with some of the things you've spoken about. Mary and I, we did a TV show together. We did 2 seasons, and on the first season, there was a lady working with us named Julia, and she got a bad diagnosis, and she knew she was on her way out, and she wasn't there for the second season. And she actually told us, if I can find a way, I'll be in contact.
Wow.
And while we were filming our second season, we all started getting phone calls and text messages from her phone.
What?
And the text messages were blank, but it was with her name, and the phone calls were from her phone. And we later found out that phone had been sealed in her house from the time that she went, in a drawer with the battery taken out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have chills. Wow. That's astounding.
My first time back in Ireland after Julia passed, I was asked to do a performance, an audience with, and I was standing in the hall, and there was about 300 people in the hall, and right at the back, there she stood by the door, and I was just blown away. And I had to tell the audience that Julie was there. And that, it was really important for me to see her standing there as validation for me as much as it was for her. I didn't know, but her family were in the audience. So that was extra for them, She didn't have a message to say. She didn't say anything. She just stood by the door, So it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. She was only such a young and beautiful young lady, wasn't she, Mark? So pretty and such a wonderful nature.
Wow.
But I'm sure she helped us, don't you, Mark?
Oh, absolutely. Still is, probably.
Yeah, that's great.
Honored to hear all of
some of my
stories.
best friends are on the other side.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. That's right.
Most of mine are.
I do believe I live it every day. I live it every day. Communication with my parents who have passed.
Wow.
Angelina, it's gone again. Your voice went completely. There's somebody else that wants to come through to you. Did you know a Walt, please, in the spirit world? Walter or Walt?
Walter is coming through for Jodi. There's a Walter coming through for Jodi. And is this Walter, is Walter known to Jodi? No. Is this a great-grandparent? It's a great-grandparent. Do you know of any great-grandparent that may have gone by the name of Walt? Jodi?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look.
Okay. Somebody of the generation above Carol's mother, Esther? Yes. Are you from Esther's side of the family? Are you from Esther's husband's side of the family? So your grandfather's side of the family? The generation up.
Walter.
So it could have been like a great uncle or.
I'm going to have to look at my mom's. I wish I had it up here, but I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
here-
Why he came through.
He's
Probably
here
why
for
he came
you.
through to you, Angeline, instead of going straight to Jodi, because
Yeah. He's telling me he's
Yeah.
here for Jodi. Mm-hmm.
I have a
Okay.
genealogy that my mother has done, and I'll look into it.
Okay. All I can say is thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jodi, for coming and
Yeah.
spending this very important time with us, and sharing your story for all of our friends and viewers, so that they too can also know that these kinds of things are capable and possible in their lives, and maybe they've had these experiences too. And the whole point is to allow folks who have had quintessential experiences to be able to share them.
Have you ever thought of writing a prayer book, like a short book of short prayers that people can say?
Me?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that you say that, because I read a devotional every night, and lately that's kind of been on my heart. I'm like, gosh, I could do this. Wow, why don't I do something like this? So very on it there, Mark.
Well, you
Yeah.
can send me one. Send me a copy of it when you're finished.
Okay.
Yeah, be lovely.
Yeah.
So we'll be with you through that and go forward with support for that.
Oh, how fun is this?
Oh,
Love
this
you
is going to be
guys.
great. Okay, count us in on your continued journey, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so
You guys are such a blessing. Thank you.
Basically, this is a little system I've devised, and it's called the ITC Orchestra. ITC is instrumental transcommunication, and it's basically the apparent ability of picking up paranormal activity on electronic equipment, and that's done by video and audio. See, the violin is a natural, it's a natural amplifier. So I'm going to hook up a microphone to the other part of the violin, which amplifies the room atmosphere plus the tones, and we'll be able to see if there's anything coming through, and we'll be able to clean that up and hopefully hear what they're saying. It almost sounds to me like you should help me.
That's definitely you should help me. So he's asked for help.
Good evening, Andrew, sir. My name is Marion.
From his base in the next room, Mark has been monitoring and recording. Despite the apparent quiet, it seems that Marion's questions did not go unanswered.
Okay, this is it's very interesting.
Really?
When you guys are out in the next room, you were saying something like, "Are you here?" And then you said, "I can feel him." And right after "I can feel him," you get,
Christ.
It's great.
I'm stuck inside and then inside.
It's fantastic. I mean, I've strived for years to try and prove what I get is real. What I feel is real. I believe in the survival of the human spirit and the ability of that spirit to communicate with me. And for the first time in my life, I've heard it.
there's one last one here I want you to have a listen to.
Needs our help, yes or no?
This contact, I mean, that is intelligent
It's
contact.
amazing, amazing.
We've never had that, Mark. We've never had we're having a conversation.
Needs our help, yes or no?
For the first time in a long time, I'm stuck for words.
Next door in room 22, Mark is monitoring Andy and Marion's conversation. If he can pick up and interpret any unexplained voice phenomena, he'll feed the word straight back to Darren in room 21. An extraordinary first for paranormal investigation.
This is like a moon landing, because if this comes off, it's going to be something that's never been done, that's never been attempted before, as far as to my knowledge, and it's certainly never been achieved. Were you shot, sir? Did you shoot somebody?
I got something that sounds like, "Please stop."
Right after where he asked where he got shot. Please stop.
I can feel it. You don't need to be here. You don't need to be here, sir.
Right, when she says you don't have to be here, it's something like they won't let me or they don't love me or something like that.
All you need to do is grasp that hand.
Will you carry me?
You don't need to be carried. All you need to do is reach out. Hold on tight. Hold on really tight. Now go with him.
There was something come through there.
Is there anybody else here?
It's a woman, right?
Is your name Maud?
Mark has now analysed and clarified all the audio evidence, creating a complete record of Marion and Andy's apparent two-way conversation with the spirit of Room 21. The results, even compared to the live feedback, are extraordinary.
I'm addressing the male presence in this room. Do you want to talk to us? You want to talk to Marion?
Will you leave?
Play it again. I didn't quite get it.
You want to talk to Marion?
Leave me.
Leave me. And this is exactly the conversation as it happened.
You want to talk to us? You want to talk to Marion?
Leave me.
Not only are the voices there, but the voices and what we think they're saying are relevant to the conversation.
Yeah.
So we had a chance to help you. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you understand what I'm trying to do. Do you not want to know?
Do you understand? It's just.
To help you. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you understand what I'm trying to do. Do you not want to know?
I'm really baffled. I'm not baffled. I'm excited, but it's like finding the Holy Grail. This, I mean, short of having an apparition walk through a wall and shake your hand, this is as close as you're going to get.
Are you in pain?
With you.
Yeah.
It's with you. Will you carry me with you?
Are you in pain?
Can you carry me?
This is my whole life's work. This is somebody hearing what I hear, and it's just phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal.
I have a little something here. There's a voice, and then there's you. You say, "Don't turn back for God's sake."
On the way out to the light, yeah.
There's another voice. It's okay.
I'll run back.
It's okay.
Who said that? It's a girl.
That sounds like a female to me. And then pretty soon after that, you pick up. Are you alright?
It's okay.
If this is what it appears to be, this has got to be the first time ever that live communication between a medium and something possibly paranormal has ever happened.